My name is Jacob Niedzwiecki. I'm a choreographer, filmmaker, and programmer. So dance, code, and movement media and code are sort of my home disciplines. This was a really simple demo that the Harvard put online. So you probably learned in science class that pendulums have a different speed of oscillation. But what's really interesting is these transient patterns that sort of appear as this happens. The whole thing is tuned so that the frequency of each pendulum is like a semitone down. I saw this and immediately went, okay, I need to do that with bodies. That was just, the idea was just there, fully formed, and I really wanted to figure out how to make that happen. And that posed a really interesting technical challenge, which was to make that happen, I needed to give 10 to 15 performers a unique tempo, like using a click track, and they all had to start in perfect sync. So I kind of had this moment of going, okay, I've talked to like people who are experts in audio, I've done a lot of research, but we all have these in our pockets. There must be some way to leverage the fact that I have this in my pocket and can wear headphones and make this happen. So that led to a code framework called Cohort. Maybe for this one, if you want to duck the lights.
And who by fire, who by water, who in the sunshine, who in the nighttime, and who by high ordeal, who by common trial, who in your merry, merry month of May, who by very slow decay, and who shall I say is coming? And who in her lonely slip, who by barbiturate, who in these runs of love, who by something blunt, and who by avalanche, who by powder, who for his greed, and who for his hunger.
Okay, I'm going to pause that there because it's online. You can watch it on your own time. I don't need to waste your time now showing you the whole thing. The lo-fi version of this experience where everybody has an MP3 player and everybody hits play at the same time and you go in a performance context or in a theater context. This video led to me building a framework that let me do that in a much more tightly synchronized way and in a way that let me integrate audio and video on people's smartphones. So I had this tool, and I started tuning into the idea of a show where we could take all of the technology that we have access to as theater artists, sound, PA, projection, comms, even really simple stuff like timing, where we could take all of that technology and bundle it up into an app and have and carry it around with us. That led to a show called Jackeries, in which we lead the audience on a journey through a city. It's a show inspired by parkour and how parkour talks about and works with moving through urban spaces and finding interesting routes through urban spaces. All right. From the very beginning of developing the code that powers this show, a huge goal of mine was to make it accessible to other creators. I thought if this works, if this doesn't work, great, whatever. But if this does work, technically, even if my project fails, I think there's a huge appetite for these kinds of tools. If you look at people like Janet Cardiff, who have been doing sound walks for years, If you look at promenade theater, if you look at durational or performance art, I think this is an interesting toolkit. So please follow up with me if anything I've said makes you go like, oh, I would like to play with that. That's interesting. In December, we had a show running. In the first version of the show, we had one sound cue. It was literally one go that started a 45-minute track for each single person. And it was so unreliable that we had to develop a social protocol for network redundancy. So we had everybody raise their hand, and then we hit the go button. And the first instruction that you hear over your headphones was, you can put your arm down now. So if anybody's hand was still up, we knew we needed to start the show over again and fire our one sound cue again. Now we're running performances with 18 to 25 sound cues specifically over headphones as part of a sound package that's also controlling a quad sound installation in the room, as well as video cues. So integrating with QLab and now with Isadora, again, is part of making those tools accessible to people. With Unity, our goal was to work on the capture side. So we knew we had an audience interested in augmented reality content, and we knew we could create the situation for that and create the context. But what we couldn't do was capture our performers in 3D really easily and use them. So this is from our residency in Berlin. This is sort of a demo that is the result of our work. This is a vacant lot featuring some nifty graffiti. We prototyped an app that lets you find a single piece of graffiti that has content anchored to it. With this yet, it's pretty raw. So this actually shockingly looks much better on the device than it does on this screen. So we have a demo here. I brought it. You can try it out yourself if you want. So this is a 3D capture running within Unity using the Vuforia framework. And our real goal was like, how fast can we make this happen? How fast can we turn around this material? So this was, we took a day, we had a day to shoot, and then this is about, I think I took about a half day for post. I'm really interested now about the idea of asymmetry. How do I exploit the idea of providing some information or some content to some members of the audience and not to others? In our show, we do that by having a branching structure, so that we start with a group of 40 people who are then right away split up into groups of 5 to 10, following individual characters through the show and sort of taking this forking path that comes together. It also gives us a lot of flexibility in how we enact the show or how we stage the show. So one of the things that we're really excited about exploring is when we are not performing, how do we leave some part of the experience for people or for potential audience members? If we can leave behind some version of the show or some scenes or some experiences in a different way, then that potential audience magnifies and our show becomes more accessible. I'm going to stop talking now and say thank you very much for listening, and I'm excited to chat later.